Thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop. On today's episode, we take a look at the Loose Collector Coffin Comics HellWitch. Today I'll be reviewing this figure in the following categories: accessories, articulation, design, is it essential to your collection, functionality, and price. Once our scores are totaled, I give you my opinion if this figure is a pass or a purchase. So for accessories, we actually don't have that much hair. So let's start off. We have a pair of wings, which I don't know if I remember that these came with the figures. It was at the bottom of the box, so sort of a nice surprise. These are hard, similar to the NECA gargoyle wings. We'll talk more about these in the functionality department. You only receive 2 pair of hands. The hands on the figure are open, and here you receive weapon holding hands. The fingertips are painted silver. Not sure if these, are weapons that she wears over her fingers, as I'm not familiar with this character. And then we receive what seems like a magic or energy-based sword, which looks pretty cool. And then we receive another accessory, which I won't show now. We'll talk about that accessory more in the design department. I would have loved to have an additional head sculpt. That would have really been nice. Looking at this, I am making the assumption that this figure can sort of cast weapons, and if that's the case, I would have loved to have another weapon or some flame effect. Like, she's from hell. I'm pretty sure she has something to do with fire. So due to the accessory that I'm not showing at this time, I actually increased the score. So for accessories, I'm going to give this figure a 9 out of 10. So for articulation, the head doesn't look up at all. It's really restricted because of the hair. It does look down some, it does rotate, and you have a good amount of pivot. The arms are able to kick, pretty tight, nervous, out to the side about that much. It is able to rotate. No upper bicep cut, though you do have motion at the elbow. The elbows are single jointed, only bending in that much. The hands are on a hinge, so they do go side to side. So with the torso, don't want to show that yet. So with the torso, you do have a floating upper part. It's able to allow her to crunch forward that much, backwards that much. Great amount of pivot, rotation, tilt. This is single sculpted here, so no waist swivel. The leg is able to kick forward a good amount, backwards none. It doesn't rotate, unfortunately. You do have rotation underneath the knee. The knees are double jointed, bending in all the way. Also forgot the legs kick out to the side about that much. No butterfly joint on the figure. How did I almost forget? The foot is able to kick down that much, forward that much, and great pivot. So for overall articulation, I'll be giving this figure a 6 out of 10. So for design, let's go ahead and bring the figure in a bit closer, and let's go ahead and take a look at that head sculpt. It is really painted well. The lips have a little bit of silver on them, and looking at her nose and above the eye, you have these silver areas, which I assume are piercings. The eyes are yellow, the black is well done, and I really like the eyeshadow that's used here. Looking at the horns, it appears that this one has some silver paint up top. But coming down, there's definitely some shading on this figure. You can see red in areas right around the neck, as well as in the middle of the breast, down the arm, continuing on the abs, and throughout on the legs, which really gives a nice touch. Unfortunately, on the stomach area, I do have a little bit of silver. Turning the figure to the side, you can see that red paint still coming down, and I really like that. It gives a nice definition to the flush tone. Looking at the back of the figure, excuse me, on the buttocks, unfortunately, I do have some black paint, but you still have that red that I was talking about carrying its way all the way down. Now, comparing this figure to images of this character in comic appearances, it seems that there were several different looks. And while I was trying to find more images of pictures inside of the comics, it appeared that I just kept pulling up cover images. And I know sometimes the covers are exaggerated, but in the book itself, the character usually has a steady look. The images that I was referencing to, it seemed that a lot of times the face changed a lot. So looking at the comics compared to the action figures, kind of difficult for me to rate that. One thing that I did want to point out is looking at the leg, this one here doesn't seem to be all the way up as this one, or maybe it's the issue with the pelvis itself. This one here appears to be a bit more flush. This one has some imperfections, and I'm not crazy about how this looks. Oh, I almost forgot that I had to show something. So here's the figure with the alternate chest plate. And just looking in close, it is a pair of big boobs. Unfortunately, on this one, there is some black right around the nipple itself. But looking at the middle of the breast, you do see that red tone continuing throughout. And looking at them from the side, there's a cut in here. Sort of, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Do you see that? It looks like this is a surgery cut for implants. And looking at the breasts, they're just huge and perky in a downward way. Not sure why I was so looking forward to getting this chest plate. Like, it's not like I don't have a real pair of titties to touch at home. I do. But I was actually looking forward to these. So, for overall design, I'm going to go ahead and give this figure an 8 out of 10. So is this figure essential to your collection? Well, I know nothing about HellWitch. Fortunately, on the back of the box, there is a bio. So I'm going to go ahead and read this bio. The infamous sorceress who will become HellWitch began as a nameless pit slave, the lowest caste in her hive. Those in her clan were members of the Hellborn, the one true race born in hell, sworn enemies of the fallen and the damned. Through sheer determination, HellWitch did the impossible. She rose through the ranks of her castle system to become a warrior and eventually challenged the Hive's tyrannical queen. Overcoming that challenge was the first step in her evolution from lowly slave to one of the most powerful witches in hell. But that power came with a terrible price. So as far as toy options, let me tell you what you have. There are statues for those of us that collect statues, but when it comes to action figures, guess who makes a HellWitch figure? Of course, Funko Pop. They make everything. When you think there's nothing of a particular character, pretty sure Funko will make it. Aside from that, there doesn't appear to be any action figures made of this figure. So if you are looking for the HellWitch in action figure form, this is currently your only offering. So as far as it being essential to your collection, I'm going to go ahead and give this figure a 10 out of 10. So for functionality, this figure barely passes the stand test. It was very difficult to get this figure standing up, mainly because of the boots. So I didn't want to lift her up. Like I'm saying, like I'm going to have a hard time now getting her to stand. Oh, no, she's standing. Looking at this figure from this dynamic, I do want to point out some issues that I have. Mainly with the arms. I hate when figures are stuck sort of in that V shape. And the arms on these figures, unfortunately, does not go all the way down. So she just has those arms sticking out to the side, and I really don't like it. Now, I love what they did with the swappable breastplates. It is a magnetic system. Looking at the inside here, you put it and it stays. Great design. Great functionality. Unfortunately, it comes off too often. You move the figure down some and it's just ready to pop off. So that in itself can be a bit frustrating. What I do love, however, is how the lines are hidden. You can't tell that this part here pops off. So I really like how they did that. Now with the torso, it is limited, being that they sculpted this solid piece, but however, having this floating this A portion really gives you the opportunity to get the figure in some flexible poses. Now with the hair, unfortunately, it is long, it's also hard, so you can't get the figure to look up any, which sucks. So having another head sculpt to where maybe the hair was out to the side, that would have been great. Now, coming down to the legs, the issue here is that the legs do not turn, and that really hinders this figure. You do have some movement underneath the knee, excuse me, but look how weird that looks because the leg itself doesn't turn. So now let's go ahead and put on some accessories. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the wings. There are openings in her back. Let's see if it pegs in nice and simple, or if I need to go off camera. All right. Okay, that one is in. Let's do the other side. Okay, both wings are on, and there she is, looking really good with the wings on. Let's go ahead and swap out these hands. So the hand has the peg on them, which is my preferred method. A little tug, wasn't too difficult to get out. And where is my flaming sword? Seems a bit large for the hole in the hand. Pretty sure that's going to take some paint off. And there go the breasts. All right, there you go. Now the hinge does move side to side instead of up and down, so I will be deducting points for that. Actually, that is incorrect. They move up and down, so I will not be deducting points for that. So for functionality, the accessories work well with the figure. The wings peg in, they're pretty tight, and you can move them up and down. The one accessory that she comes with that goes into her hands fits in pretty easily. The hands are on a vertical hinge, which is really good. The breastplate, I love the engineering of it. However, the magnets need to be stronger. I will be deducting a point for each of the legs as they do not rotate. I will be deducting a point for the breastplate as it falls out. I'll also be deducting a point for the stability. The figure has issues standing, but then I'll be giving points for the engineering part of the interchangeable breastplate. So for overall functionality, I'll be giving this figure a 7 out of 10. I failed to mention in the functionality department that this is a flying character, and unfortunately, she cannot lift her head up. So for pricing, there's actually two prices for this figure. There's the now price. So for pricing, this figure comes in at $53. Add in taxes and shipping. Shipping was a whopping $14. You're looking at a price point of roughly $67. So now is this figure worth the price of admission? Well, let's see what she comes with. Sadly, she only comes with one head sculpt. I would have loved to have an additional head sculpt for this character, especially being there some alterations with her looks in the comics. I think having an additional set of hands would have also been good. I would have liked to see more weapons. However, I have no idea if this figure uses other weapons than the one that comes with her, so it's hard for me to say if that should have been included or not. Having things such as flame accessories would have been great. I'm using this, which came with the Frankie Reyes Nova. The wings are cool accessories. I wish that they did have a bit more mobility. Now, the star of the show, you're looking at him. Like, I hate to sound like a perv, but yeah, these are the winning accessories. And this is probably the way that I'm going to display my figure. May have to worry about my kids asking questions. Think about that. So for pricing, I'm going to give this figure an 8 out of 10. That should give HellWitch an overall cliff score of. So now is this figure a pass or a purchase? Well, that depends. It depends where Coffin Collector is going with this. Now, I have Lady Death. I'm not sure if this is the second or third figure to be released. I guess it all depends on where they're going with the universe. Is it only going to be the main characters? Are we going to get some of the less known or familiar characters? And I say that not even knowing who this is. But having this character, this HellWitch, can really fit into your collection, even if you step outside the Coffin comics. If we ever get a Marvel Legends Mephisto, or if Diamond Select is able to reissue their Mephisto, this would be a great character to stand along with them. If you're looking to build out your Storm Collectibles Darkstalkers, this could also be a character to add in next to Dimitri. So I'm going to say for this figure, it's an absolute purchase. All right, so let's throw in, where is it? Now I have two Lady Death figures, but I don't want to open this one. I can't find the one that's open. Was trying to see how much of the body is shared. It seems that The pelvis area down, the whole legs are shared. The breasts may be different. But you see how with this figure, the arms are flushed to the side. Wonder why it's not the case with this one. Let's go and throw in some female characters. Frankie Reyes. I may have a hard time getting these figures to stand. Okay, I'm gonna just have to hold this figure. Stability is not working. Let's go ahead and throw in a larger figure, the Storm Collectibles. Well, let's see if she stands. Storm Collectibles Tyrus Flare? I feel like I'm forgetting her name. And I'm surprised that this Storm Collectibles figure is that much bigger than that figure. Let's get this figure out the way. She won't stand. G.I. Joe Classified, and you can see she scales a bit larger. Let's throw in X-Rays Toys Combatant. They're pretty close in scale. I would have loved to have Dimitri from Storm Collectibles here, but I don't have access to that right now. And here she is standing next to Storm Collectibles Zangief. So thank you for tuning in to Mr. Clip's Toy Shop. I hope to see you during the next episode.